Hi, I'm living in Japan for 5 months with chronic illness right now, and here is how I actually packed for it. Hi, my name's Sally and I'm a travel advisor living with chronic illness, and I help people with chronic illness like me travel the world and support their nervous system at the same time. This was a little bit of a complicated packing scenario. I originally had to pack most of what I needed back in April because the lease ended on my Houston apartment at the beginning of May and I had to move out. Then I had a couple weeks back in New York and then a couple weeks living out of suitcases, which was even more complicated. But somehow we made it all work. I won't be showing you specific details of all the meds that I'm on, primarily because those bottles have my addresses all over them, but you will see how I packed the small amount of capsule-like wardrobe in compression bags, and the rest of my stuff, which was primarily meds, in the other sides of my suitcases. I also brought a very small amount of toiletries, largely because you can buy most things here. Now, when I say most things, I don't mean the same brands that we would get in the US or the UK, but there are plenty of cosmetics and plenty of regular toiletries to be purchased. However, I did bring large bottles of a small number of specific things, shampoo and a small amount of conditioner, because my hair is not the same as Asian hair. As many of you know, it's actually quite curly and it's 100% humidity here, so definitely brought my own shampoo. Also brought my own deodorant. Japanese people are well known to not sweat, and so their deodorants work very differently than Western ones. Also brought my own toothpaste. From a memory when I lived here before, the Japanese toothpaste was very different. But aside from those three things, did also bring a small amount of fake tan, which of course you can't buy in Japan, and surprisingly, after being here 2 months, I'm using it much less because the Japanese style is to be much paler skinned, and so I don't feel like I need it as much. Hilarious. You may even have noticed in these videos that despite being here 2 months, I have less freckles and tan than I did in Houston, and that is because Japanese sunscreen is so good that I barely even register anything from the sun, although it is very fierce. So I prioritized mainly space for medications, space for some clothes, and in hindsight I did bring probably more sweaters and jackets than I would need. In my head, I remember it getting quite cool in September, October. What my friends are telling me is that actually now the summer lasts quite a bit later, and probably I may not need any of those things at all. And of course, you can buy a lot of things here. You may already have seen a couple of my reels for shopping videos. So in terms of clothing, I didn't need to bring a great deal, but obviously the medication was the priority. You will also see that this is a very realistic capsule wardrobe. Although I am someone who loves clothes and style, I have not packed for some fancy mix and match, everything coordinates kind of a situation. And there are some clothes that may look strange to you that I just love. I also did bring a much larger number of shoes than I would typically do with a capsule wardrobe. If I'm only going somewhere for, let's say, a month, I would probably bring 3 pairs of shoes. Japan, having rainy season in the summer, and I have lived here before, the rain destroys your shoes. So this time I specifically bought a number of new pairs of Rothy's, which are waterproof, knowing that I may well be out in the rain and don't want to destroy my shoes. I also brought, goodness, probably about 5 different pairs of sandals, just because if you're in the heat and you're walking on the subway a lot, you want to have a different pair each day so you're not getting rubbing and wear too much on your shoes. The other key thing you will see in these videos is that I'm using compression Ziploc bag thingamies. I started doing that this year, even for short trips in a carry-on. It is not so great for organization, i.e. everything goes in together, but it does allow you to get a lot more in. And when I was packing internationally, obviously that was crucial. Now, this is not a carry-on only video. I was flying on Japan Airlines. Japan Airlines are famous for never having lost a single bag, and so I felt very safe, also because I was flying in first class and bags are tagged for priority, to check the maximum amount that I was allowed, which was 2 bags. In the end, I wound up bringing another little carry-on with me, and so what wound up happening was I put 2 bags in the hold, a medium check and a carry-on, and then I carried with me, and you'll see in the pictures this combination, a small carry-on, personal item, and my medi bag. And then I had 1 further medium suitcase that I wound up shipping with a shipping company that I quite frequently use when I travel, and that arrived about a week or so later. So in the end, I have 2 medium-sized check bags. 1 was shipped ahead, 1 was checked, a carry-on, which I also checked, and then a small carry-on personal item medi bag. So for 5 months, that's not too bad. What we will do on the way home, when I'm also traveling for 2 weeks in Asia and will only need a carry-on, not quite sure, but we'll figure that out when we come to it. Okay, let's get into it. And if you want help booking travel that fits for your health needs, that's literally what I do. Don't hesitate to reach out. So given that this packing operation was a pretty major undertaking and I was feeling a teeny bit overwhelmed in moments, I did utilize the help of ChatGPT. And I did at one point upload my wardrobe, which you will see in a moment, and get feedback on specific pieces to bring. But you can see here and pause on the scrolling that I did get quite a bit of advice on things to bring to Japan in the summer. And something I use all the time which helps with packing is the Style Book app, and you can see here me scrolling down to my Japan packing list and all the items of clothing that I have put into the app based on my conversation with ChatGPT. And what I find is that this is 90% of packing, deciding what to bring. And if you can do that lying down on the couch rather than walking backwards and forwards in your wardrobe, what a lot of lovely spoons that saves. And you'll notice now I'm in a packing list called Hokkaido, where I'm going next month. And again, I wanted to make sure, just because it's a little cooler up there, that I had all of the right clothing. Then I'm doing some traveling in Asia on the way home, and I just wanted to get a sense of what the weather is going to potentially be at that time of the year, so that I can have a capsule ready for that trip and then basically work backwards. Obviously, some of those items will be appropriate for Japan, some of them won't, but to make sure I had everything I needed there. And again, ChatGPT was very helpful. And then here is the packing capsule that I put together for that Asia trip with a very small amount of clothing, which at that time I will be doing carry-on only. So now we come on to the actual packing, and the first part of this with the clothes happened in the Houston apartment before I moved out. And you can see me here, all the items that I've listed in that app, just folding them up and putting them into these compression bags, which I will momentarily suck the air out of so we can get as much space as possible in the suitcase. Now you can see here that I'm able to do a significant portion of this without sitting down and taking a rest these days, but that wasn't always the case, so just to normalize packing is not easy, and if you need to stop every minute and sit down and rest before you continue again, please do that, because it's really important that we pace this stuff. So when the bag is mostly full and you don't want to overfill these bags, you can see they come with this portable air sucking out device. Oh, vacuum, I guess is the right word. And here it is closer up. It's USB, so pretty good for travel, and you can see the air is being compressed out. Then on to the second bag, and this is a set you will not be surprised to know I bought from Amazon, not because I love Amazon, but because we oftentimes rely on it with chronic illness. I think it had 2 bags for carry-on size, 2 bags for checked luggage, and 2 tiny underseat bags, and I bought a second set because obviously I had multiple suitcases for this trip. I can put the link down below in case you would like to order similar, because I do find them very helpful. And these 2 carry-on size bags, I'm basically putting my Asia capsule wardrobe in here, and then later on I will put some bigger items in the bigger suitcases. So this is my carry-on size suitcase with those 2 compressed bags in there, and you can see it does still leave a little bit of space around the edge, so I'm just trying to fill the gaps with additional rolled up items. So then coming on to the checked size luggage, and the luggage I have here has pretty big ridges in one side, so I'm just trying to fill those up first before I put the compressed air bags on top. And an easy way to do this is with sports clothing, although hilariously looking at that now, I have not used one single item of that clothing in the 2 months I have been here because I haven't had quite the energy yet. Classic. And then I'm putting 2 bigger compression bags on here, and again you can see there's slightly a bit of space in the side that I'm just filling with more sports clothing, and then the other one on the other side, and then filling that other gap with more items. So this is phase 2 of the packing from my hotel in Houston, and you can see all the suitcases, all the things that still now have to go in the suitcases, and more importantly, the huge pile of meds on the table. So we're starting first with this empty one side of the suitcase that you already saw me pack. And here I'm using a lot of Ziploc bags because we don't want anything breaking and spilling out in the suitcase. And I'm also going to put as much as I can in that blue backpack, which I then also want to stuff in the suitcase. And this was recorded in real time, so let's see how well I do and how much of it I have to unpack and repack again. As you can see here, I decided at this point that kneeling down was more comfortable, but my goodness, that carpet was very scratchy, so I went and got a towel. And in fact, all of this packing together, which over about 2 days left me with such sore legs. So do be mindful. Typically I am packing, as you saw earlier on those suitcase racks. Much easier to do that. Putting a suitcase down on the ground, definitely not comfortable and a lot harder for us and more likely to trigger PEM. Also, you might be thinking, come on Sally, don't be silly, why is your suitcase not on the bed? We put suitcases on beds. Oh my goodness, we do not put suitcases on beds. Have you heard of bed bugs? That is the #1 way to get bed bugs from a hotel into your suitcase and into your home. Please do not ever put anything on a hotel bed. The only thing I allow on hotel beds are pajamas, and they go straight in the wash as soon as I get in. I am quite fastidious on the bed bug reduction. Finally, to show you my very minimal makeup and carry-on toiletries, you can see my clear plastic bag for the TSA there, and I have 2 other small toiletry bags, and that's really all I brought with me aside from the full-size shampoo and the fake tan and the toothpaste, and everything else I've purchased in Japan, which you can see in my Setting Up Life with Chronic Illness video. And so here is the luggage I took on the plane, and minus the 1 more checked bag that I shipped, that was everything. So that's how I packed. Meds first, compressed clothing second, a few other items including shoes last. No fantasy, aesthetically pleasing packing, just what works. On this occasion, it wasn't about packing light. And it wasn't about being fully stylish, although hopefully stylish up to a point, but it was about living abroad in a functional way that works for me and also within the spoons that I had available for packing. I hope you found this video enjoyable, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.